Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Terry and this is an experiment, first time for me, really doing a video on how I get rid of scale on a plant that I would consider to be infested. And my technique is really what I use. There are a lot of techniques that have been suggested to me, techniques that I've used in the past. I've started off using, the least invasive techniques as far as using Q-tips, spraying the plants with neem oil and other insecticidal soaps and things like that. None of that really worked until I got Enstar AQ. Now, it was given to me initially by someone from my local Orchid Society who is a retired doctor and native plant guru. So I really respected his advice on what to use as far as eradicating scale and other insects. As you can see, I'm sure this is probably backwards, but on the front it says for control of whiteflies, thrips, aphids, soft body and armored scales, mealybugs, leaf miners, glassy winged sharpshooters, and fungus gnats. I would not recommend this for everybody. It is a pretty harsh chemical, so I know that a lot of people will frown on this. It is also very expensive. But this is what I use in lieu of my Gold Listerine, in lieu of manually picking them off. What I am going to do today is, this is the plant. I will talk more about it later. Believe it or not, regardless of how it looks, this is really a good bloomer for me. But what I will show you is how I basically deal with scale, my issues of scale. What I will do is, because this pot is in need of a repot as well, what I'm going to do is just take it out of the pot. And I don't necessarily remove plants from pots when I'm spraying them. I really don't do it at all unless they need to be repotted. And if they don't need to be repotted, then I try as best as I can to, and I will I'm not going to show you because I'm taking this out of the pot, but in lieu of taking it out of the pot, the areas that I see on this plant, and I'll try, and I don't know if this is focused, hopefully, I will be trying to focus in on these areas. Also, I'm going to have to remove all of the sheaths because, as you can see, there's scale, a lot of scale. I mean, it's flaking off. I'll have to remove all of these pseudobulbs, not pseudobulbs, but the sheaths. And pretty much all of them have sheaths, and get down into where the roots are and into this area. So, and then what I'm going to do when I get done with that, what I like to do is I spray the whole plant down once, and then what I do is I take my toothbrush, which is a baby, well, it's an adult toothbrush, but it's very soft. I have sensitive teeth, so all toothbrushes are soft bristled. And then I will show you how I use my brush to clean off the sheaths and get down into the plant to get rid of all of the scale that is all down in the middle of the plant where it is very difficult to get it. So, first things first, I'm going to get it right out of this pot. That's why I have paper in my sink. This is just easier for me to do it in my sink instead of, well, I don't have any place in my greenhouse, although I guess I could map out a spot, but it's just easier in my sink. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it back in the same pot. This plant is I just saw the label. Well, what it is well, it's labeled as LC Sunset Glory, but it is BC Sunset Glory, which is a cross between LC Richard Mueller and Cattleya or Laelia puperata, which I guess is Cattleya now. So yeah, I'm just going to remove this plant. And it looks like I previously had just potted it up in mostly lava rock, but it looks like there is some bark as well. Okay. Here's the tag. Excuse me. Okay. So here is the plant. You can see the roots that have wound itself around the lava rock amongst the roots. Okay, so I'm just going to start removing the lava rock. Pretty self-explanatory. Just getting it as best as I can without disturbing the roots too much. Now this plant, I've looked at it and it does not show any, these roots are all good roots, but they're not active, meaning there's no green tips as far as what I can see, but still active roots. So just gotta work it all out kind of slowly, trying to do it as easy as you can. So yeah, and again, I am not one to be so fussy because a lot of this is going to get cut off anyway, because I would think that a lot of this is dead, a lot of this extra stuff down here. So that's what I'm going to do, and cut off all those dead canes. So okay, so here we go with this, and it does have 2 growing points as I can see, and there's probably more because I know this is a lead, and then there's a new growth that's right there. So what I'm going to start off by doing is I'm just going to trim some of these roots off, just to make it a lot easier to handle. And I'm thinking a lot of these are dead. Yep, they just come right off. That's fine. Actually, these are all dead in here. Okay. A little more bark in there, hidden. Yeah, my Brassavolas this year, they really did not perform for me. I have one currently that did do well, and it was hanging outside in my cage right around where my rainwater barrel is. And I'm cutting off these old pseudobulbs that are brown and desiccated, and they're not really, they don't serve a purpose. So that is that. I think those are all. Let me trim some of this off. This is a dead root. Here's one. this back. That is an active root right there. You know what? I'm thinking these are all good roots. So this is how I am planning to pot it up in the pot. It's all trimmed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this paper, and I'm going to spray the plant down. Okay. So again, I just mixed it up according to the instructions on my Enstar, and I'm just going to generously spray the plant down. Now this bottle is a bum bottle. It's you can see it spraying out of the side, so it's not really doing a really good job, but because I use it, I know which way it is spraying, so I have it aimed on the areas, but basically I'm making sure that I get down in there where the scale is, and up and down the pseudobulbs. And I know many of you are saying, but you're spraying this on your kitchen island where you're going to have dinner. Yeah, but when I get done, I have products under my sink where I'm going to spray everything down and make sure, because this thing is spraying so crazy, I know it's going off. It's going in spots I don't even realize. So I make sure that this whole island is disinfected and wiped down thoroughly. So yeah, I'm just going to go over the plant front and back, making sure that I get front and back of the leaves. Although it does appear on this plant that although there are some evidence of scale in these points from the leaf, primarily those areas are clean. It's mostly the lower part of the plant that I see that has the scale. Can you see that? All of that. So I'm just really making sure I get the plant thoroughly sprayed down. And bear in mind, this is the first time that I'm going to do this. So what I'm going to do, how I do it, just so I remember, is I'm just going to start going around the plant and removing the sheaths. This is the newest growth, well, one of them. And then when I get all that done, then I have a little running water, and then I just gently rub up and down in inside areas inside here where I see the scale, making sure that I get all the way down and check the whole leaf. And you can see it's clean. And I check the leaf front and back, no scale, and then I just move on to the next one. And that's what I'm going to do. Wet my brush, rub all the way down the plant on both sides of the pseudobulb, making sure that I get all of the sides, because that scale likes to hide. It does. And as you can see, as I'm wetting the plant and brushing it, you can see that the roots are turning green, which means that they are live roots. And this one kind of looks like it might have some, but it really doesn't. And I'm just continuing on around the plant, because I find that if I just do it randomly, I will forget some. I will lose my place. And then when it's time for me to, after I've thought that I am done, no. As I turn the plant around, I realize that I've missed. So just to keep track of where I started and to make sure that I cover the whole plant. I just have to remember to go in clockwise or counterclockwise. I guess I'm going counterclockwise. And move that all the way down to the base. That little remnant of a sheath, it's the newest growth. Don't really see, yeah, it looks like there's a little scale inside there. You can see there's a scale right in there, hopefully. What I'm going to have to do is peel this down. Yeah, I had to peel that down to get it in there gently. And then I'm just going to peel that back up. Hopefully I didn't do so much damage. And then keep going around. Now this one does have scale right there. My little brush, little rinse. Now sometimes, well, yeah, in the summer I'm a little bit, I don't have to bring my plants into my sink. I can do this all outside. And when I'm outside, I typically use my hose. I will spray them down on the highest strength that I can, which is like a stream shooting out. And you might think that it's hurting the plant, but I think that it's much better. Gets the scale out off of the plant before you even have to touch it with a brush or anything. Okay. So that one is done. Then we continue to move on around. Check this one. Rinse it off. Brush up and down to the roots, the rhizome. Making sure that I get all the way on both sides. And then continue going all the way around. With my toothbrush, you can see I'm doing it very lightly, trying not to damage the tissue too much, but making sure that I get inside of all of those ridges to get the scale out of there, because that's where it hides, right in these areas. Making sure I get that really good. And moving on to the next one. Rinse it off. Going on down. Yeah, this bottom part near the rhizome, near the roots, that really is a area that I have found to be a problem, especially, well, for many different kinds of orchids. Cattleyas a lot. I would say I don't really find that problem a lot in my dendrobiums. I don't really see the scale down amongst the roots. It's usually amongst the pseudobulbs or the leaves, not really into the roots. Okay, making sure I get the back of the leaves. It kind of had a little bit on it. Nice little rinse. Okay. Continue going on around. Okay. Hopefully you can see this okay as I brush the sides of these pseudobulbs, that I can see the scale. You can see it wash away, and also can see that I'm doing it somewhat gently, but enough force to make sure that I don't have to scrub it. Making sure that I get all that sheath out of there, because that is where they are. That is where they are. And I used to be someone to, really, it wasn't until Roger, because I can remember he used to make a little joke about how he had this thing about pulling sheaths off. And it was Maybe I'm confusing him with someone else. Although I believe Roger wasn't the only one that had that sort of compulsion, if you want to call it that. I don't want to call it a fetish. But I was always someone that liked the sheaths. I like the way that the sheath covers the pseudobulb. It's very elegant. It's like it's slowly revealing itself. You know, it's unwrapping what is, it's the wrapping around what is soon to come. But after hearing Roger and then hearing him just say, you know, look, it's just better just to have it off because that's where the bugs are, it makes a lot of sense. And a lot of sense is a lot more intelligent way of thinking than aesthetics. To me, you can have the prettiest looking pseudobulbs with the most translucent, iridescent, transparent sheaths on them, but if there's scale inside of that, it ain't gonna do much. Might look nice for a little bit until the scale reveals itself. Okay, so in my judgment, when I look down in these areas and I'm looking all the way on all sides of the plant, I really feel that that's cleaned up. I really do. I will check the tops again. But yeah, besides this one little area that I just found right here, I think that it is good. I really, really do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this again, making sure that I really get, and there's a new root right there that I just saw. So I'm going to spray this really, really good again, and do it over here in the leaves, but primarily down in that area where I got most of the scale from. Okay, so what I have down here now is my tray with some stone. I've got bark, and then I've got a little sphagnum, which I'm not going to use. So I've got this that I already had. I'm going to put the plant in as such, and I think that that's how I'm going to do it. And I will, yeah, I've got some stakes down there as well. I could divide the plant, but I'm not right now. So I'm fairly comfortable with it being like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some stones in there so that it's hugging the roots, but it's also firming the plant down instead of the opposite way, which I could put the media in first. I just dropped a rock in my disposal, so I want to try it. Well, I'll just have to remember it. But yeah, the stone is on top of the roots, and so it's weighing them down a little bit so that the root stays more secure in the pot and in place as to where I want it to be. So I'm just really just pushing it down in there to the bottom, and as you can see, that's it. And then I'm just going to take bark and fill it in. This pseudobulb over here is kind of growing lower, So I'll probably just leave the media down a little bit, as opposed to how on this side of the pot the media is higher up. Since this is right on the ledge, this new growth is a little bit down. See that? So I'm just going to only put that much media in it, which is at the base of the plant, and hopefully the new roots that are growing down. And I'm tapping the media down there, so you can see that's what I'm talking about. That's the new growth, and you can see how it's kind of sunken down in there. The media is not covering up the base of that growth. And honestly, that is done. That is done. So all that's left to do, more or less, I'm going to put a stake in here, and I'm going to stake that side up, and then I'm probably going to put a stake over here. And honestly, that's really all that I'm going to do. And yeah, I can pretty much see that the scale is not down there anymore. And I will put this in a greenhouse, but I will try to put it in an area where it's as far from some of the other orchids as I can, and I will continue to check this since it is not going to be quarantined technically. Anything else I need to tell you? It will go in a slightly shadier spot since I did repot it. And then when I sort of see growth or roots extend, then I will begin to water it a little bit more. So yeah, folks, if you've enjoyed my video, press the like button. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something and this wasn't redundant, because I know there are a lot of videos out there on repotting and scale and just orchids in general, but I appreciate you stopping by. I am completely humbled and hope to see you soon. Bye.